Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's a couple of minutes after 1 o'clock. For anyone who just joined, my name is Jamie Wallace. I'm from Brainfuse, and I'll be conducting the webinar today. So everybody should be able to hear me as well as see my screen. So we're looking at the main Job Now screen. So this is what your students will see, your patrons will see when they access the Job Now service. So the point of the webinar today is essentially to go over all the options that you have here within Job Now. So basically I'll be going through each of the buttons available here, clicking on everything to show you how it all works, and then you'll be able to either teach your patrons how to use the service if they're having difficulty, or direct them to the service if they're looking for help with something that we might be able to help with. So the way it's usually set up is that there'll be a link on your library's website, so your patrons will click on the link to access this page right here. So that's how they'll access Job Now. As I'm going through the webinar today, you can feel free to type out questions that you have using the chat box in the GoToMeeting window. So go ahead and type out a question anytime, and I'll answer that as soon as I see it. I'll try to stop and ask for questions a couple times as well, so I'll give you a few seconds to type out longer questions. And then if anyone does have questions they'd rather ask out loud, you can hold your questions until the end and do that at the end. I just don't want to unmute everybody's microphone because usually that causes a lot of background noise and then it'll be hard to hear. But I'm happy to unmute everybody one at a time at the end to ask questions if you'd rather wait until then. Okay, so this is the main Job Now page. So your patrons will access Job Now. They'll get to this page right here. Basically, you can click on the different buttons that we see down here on the bottom of the page, and that's how you can access the different parts of our service. So I'm going to click on the first one here, write the resume. Well, I guess before we do that, so Job Now in general, for those of you who aren't familiar with the service at all, so Job Now is a job search help service. So everything we offer here is based around patrons, writing resumes, working on cover letters, preparing for interviews, and in general, working on the job search process. So that's what the Job Now service is designed to help with. So we offer help in all those different areas. So we'll be seeing the different ways that we offer help in the different buttons that we click on here as we go. So the first button here is write the resume. For most people, that's one of the first steps in the job search process. So you need to have a resume for pretty much any job you're applying to these days. So I'll go ahead and click on the Write the Resume button. Here within the resume section, we have a few different options here that your patrons can use. So for anyone creating a resume for the first time or creating a new resume, you can use the Resume Templates button right here. So we have a brief description of the 4 basic types of resumes and then a Word document template for each one. So you can open up our Word document template and use that to create your resume. One example of our templates is right here. So this is what they look like. They're essentially a sample resume, and then within each of the major sections, we've written in red text a description of what should be included there. So for a patron who wants to use this as a sample, they can actually just delete the information here, put in their own information within each section, and the formatting is already there for them. So it's one example of the formatting. Of course, you can format it differently, but for some people, having the formatting here already is helpful. So that's one of our samples. The others are similar, just in different formats. If we go back, next to the Templates button, we have Resume Resources. So these are some links we've provided to other websites that you can use that will help you write a better resume. So these are some outside websites you can use to help you with resume writing. The ones down here labeled as templates, these are just updated templates we've recently created. They just need to be moved over to the templates page. If we go back, that was templates and resources. The last option here for resumes is the Resume Lab. So this allows you to send in a copy of your resume once you have it written. You can send it in to us, and one of our resume editors will look it over, provide some formatting as well as content help, and then they'll send that resume back to the patron within 1 business day. So 1 business day from when the patron sends it in, we'll send back our response. So I click on the Resume Lab here. To send in a document, you just click on the Browse button to attach the file from your computer. Pretty much any standard document type can be sent to us. Then you have a comments box where you can type out anything you'd like to say to the tutor who's going to review your file. You can let them know what jobs you're applying for, if you're only looking for help with one aspect of the resume. Whatever it is, you can type that out here in the text box. You'll also see it says resume/cover letter. So we call it the Resume Lab, but we're happy to have patrons submit cover letters as well. We'd be happy to help with those. And then you just click on the Submit button when you're ready to send that in to us. And then this message in red here directs you to the Message Center. So the Message Center is right here at the top of the page. That is where we'll send back our response. So if you click on the Message Center, right here is the document that I just sent in. When the tutor sends back their response, it'll show up directly below this with their comments and the document that they've reviewed for you. So you can open up the document they sent to you, look it over, email it to yourself, print it out, put it on a flash drive, anything like that. So that was the Write the Resume button. Does anyone have any questions about those three options here within the resume section? For anyone who joined late, there should be a chat box in the GoToMeeting window. You can use that to type out any questions. So you can feel free to type those out as we're going. I'll try to stop a couple times as well to give you some time to type out questions. So I'll pause for a few seconds now to see if anyone has any. I see there's a question asking if patrons can use the service from their home computer. And yes, they can. So the way you access the service, as I mentioned at the very beginning for those who are signed in, is through a link on your library's website. So your patrons can click on that link either from within the library or from their home computer. Any other questions for right now? There's another question asking if patrons sign on and use a password. So when patrons click on the link to access our service, so the link you put on your library's website, patrons click on that. That doesn't require any sort of authentication, so that should get you to our homepage. Patron clicks on the link. Then once you're here within our service, you'll need a username and password, but only for a couple parts of the service. One of those is the Resume Lab that we just looked at. So I'm already signed in here. So when I clicked on the Resume Lab button, it takes me right to this page. If I'm not signed in, so if you have a patron who accesses Brainfuse for the first time, they click on Write the Resume and then the Resume Lab, it'll take them to a page asking them either to sign in if they've previously created an account or to create a new account. And when you do that, all you need to give us are a username and a password, and those can be whatever you'd like. So you don't have to provide us with any personal identification information, just a username and password, and those can be whatever you like. So there are only a couple parts of the service where you'll need to have that username and password, and the Writing Lab is the only one we've seen so far. I'll try to point out the others as we go as well. Okay, so I'll move on to the second button. So we just looked at Write the Resume. Now let's look at the AC interview option. So here we again have three options. The first one here is the Live Interview Coach. So this will connect you with an interview coach in our online classroom, and they can help you prepare for an interview. So we'll look at a live session, but we're going to do that last. So I'm going to go through the whole Job Now service first, and then we'll come back and look at a live session. The next option here is Interview Tips. So these are just some basic tips that will help you prepare for an upcoming interview. So if you click on this button, you can then click on each of these options here. For example, if I click on Before the Interview, it's just a page of tips that you can read through to help you prepare. It's good for someone who hasn't interviewed for a very long time or who is interviewing for the first time. And then next to the Interview Tips option, we have online resources. So just like we had for resumes, here we have some links to outside websites that you can use that will help you prepare for an upcoming interview. If I go back to the home page, that was the AC interview option. The next button here, the third option, is links and tips. So here within links and tips, we have a couple options. The first one is career assessments. So if you have any patrons who have no idea what field or industry they want to go into, they can try taking one of these free career assessments. And then what a lot of patrons like to do is after they take one of these assessments, they'll log in with one of our tutors or just log back into Brainfuse, and they can either get help creating a resume based around that industry, looking for available jobs within their area in that industry, writing a cover letter, anything like that we'd be happy to help with. And then next to the career assessments button, we have job resources. So these are some links that we've compiled that your patrons can use to find available jobs to apply to. So they're job search websites. We have the page broken down into general job sites, and then job sites for students and recent graduates, and then job sites for veterans. And this page can also be customized, so if you have any links that you'd like us to add, local links for your area, we can add those for you. Just email them to us. We'd be happy to add those. Okay, back on the main page here. So those were the first three buttons that we see here. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've gone over there? Okay, I don't see any questions yet, so I'll keep going through the different options here. Also point out this quick job search you can conduct here. So you can type in a job title or keyword, or company name, or location here, and you can do a quick job search right from our home page. That's in addition to the links that we have available in the links and tips section here. The last button you'll see down here at the bottom of the page is the Adult Learning Center. So we have some options here in the Adult Learning Center that are not really specific to the job search process. So if you just happen to have adult learners at your library who are looking for help with a few different areas within academic tutoring, we offer some help for them here within the Adult Learning Center. So your patrons will have access to everything I'm showing you today. I'll click on the button here for Adult Learning Center. So the services here are all geared towards adults. On the right-hand side of the page here, under where it says Lifelong Learning, these are some of the academic tutoring options available to adult learners. So obviously these don't relate directly to the job search process, but they might be used by a patron who is preparing to take any sorts of tests or certification exams, who's going back to school to get a degree in something to further their career. So they are related. So that's why we have some live tutoring help options here. So the live tutoring option, the first one here, I'll click on that option. So this will let your patrons connect with one of our live academic tutors. So you just choose either basic, intermediate, or advanced for the proficiency level, and then we'll have different subjects here based on the level you choose. So there's some advanced subjects here. If you choose advanced, choose basic, you just have math, reading, and writing. So you choose the one you'd like and click on the Get Live Help button, and that will connect you to one of our live academic tutors for that subject, and they can help answer any questions you have, go over any topics you're working on, anything like that. We also have the skill splitting option here. This also connects you with a live tutor. Essentially these two options here are the same, live tutoring and skill splitting. The difference in theory is that live tutoring is for a patron who has a specific question they'd like to ask their tutor, whereas skill splitting is for a patron who wants to work on learning a skill. So they log in and say they'd like to learn how to multiply fractions. That's what skill splitting is for. But if I click on that, you'll see the options here on the left are the same, whether it's live tutoring or skill splitting. So you just choose your subject and then click on Get Live Help, and that will connect you with a live tutor. And you can also click right here anytime that you'd like to get a Spanish-speaking tutor. So if any of your patrons are native Spanish speakers, they can connect with a Spanish tutor. The Writing Lab option here, This works just like the resume lab that we saw before. So that was where you could send in your resume to have it reviewed. Here in the writing lab, you can do the exact same thing with a piece of writing. So an essay or a paper, anything like that can be sent in to us here just by following these steps. And again, our turnaround time is 1 business day. So from when the student or when the patron sends in this piece of writing to us, we'll send back a response at most 1 business day later. It's the same for the resumes. I'm not actually sure if I mentioned that before. So the turnaround time is 1 business day at the most. So as soon as you send in a resume or a paper here through the writing lab, it's available to our tutors. So one of them might work on it and send it back a couple hours later, but at most we'll respond within 1 business day. So documents sent in here in the writing lab, just like for the resumes, we're not really trying to make all of the changes. We're not trying to do all of the work for the patron. So we're just trying to give them some feedback so they can then go make changes on their own. That's the point of the writing lab. So we'll point out grammar errors, we'll point out content issues, and then the student or the patron will have to go back and make those changes on their own. So that's the writing lab. There's a question asking what is the level of education for your tutors. So it'll vary on the subject they're tutoring. So all of our tutors have at least a 4-year college degree. They're all U.S. based. They'll go through a full background check with us and then get fully trained by us on our policies and how to use our system. And then additionally they have to take and pass practice tests that we've created. I guess they're not practice tests, just tests that we've created to prove to us that they can tutor in their subjects. And then a lot of what we do on a daily basis here in our office is quality control of tutors. So we're constantly in contact with tutors who make mistakes, tutors who aren't good tutors don't continue to work with us. So quality control of the tutor is a lot of what we do. And then for the higher level subjects, calculus, chemistry, a lot of those tutors have advanced degrees. Okay, so that was the writing lab button. If we move down, we also have the test center option here. So this will allow your adult learners to take academic practice tests. So again, they just choose basic, intermediate, or advanced, and then choose a subject, and they can take a practice test in that subject. And the nice thing about our tests is that once you've taken one of them, you can log in with a live tutor, and the tutor is able to access your specific test results. So they can go over the questions you answered incorrectly and show you how to answer those questions. And the last option here on the right is 24/7 help. So this works just like the writing lab, where you can send in a paper for review, except that here in 24/7 help, you can send in a question. So you can send in an academic question to us. One of our tutors will respond. We're never going to give out the answer, but we'll either send a resource or we'll work through a similar problem to show how that type of question is done, or we'll get the patron started. So we'll give them some help on how to get that answer. Again, the turnaround time for questions submitted here is the same as for documents submitted through the writing lab. So it's 1 business day at the most, but especially for questions sent in here, we usually respond much more quickly than 1 business day. Okay, so let's go back to the Adult Learning Center homepage. So we just looked at the 5 options here on the right. Now on the left, we have some additional options for adult learners. So we have Pass the GED. So if any of your patrons are preparing to take the GED test, we have some resources here for them. So we have study materials under number 1 on the left. Under number 2, we have live tutors available. And then under number 3 on the right, you can take practice tests for each section of the GED. Then we have the same options for the U.S. citizenship test. So we have study materials, live tutors available, and then practice tests, all for the U.S. citizenship test. Below that option, we have Write a Winning Resume. So we also had the resume section back on the main Job Now page. So we also have it here. So there's a little bit of overlap. So here within the resume section, we have online resources. And you can upload your resume here in number 2. So that's exactly the same as the resume lab that we saw before. It's just located in 2 places. It works the same way and doesn't matter whether your patrons send it in here or back through that main Job Now page where we started. They'll both work exactly the same way. And then on the right here, we have an additional option where you can actually connect with a live resume tutor and go over your resume in a live session. The next option here, below the resume button, is Microsoft Office Help. So here we offer help with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint up to the most recent versions of those programs. So we have online resources here on the left under number 1, including some free tutorials. And then on the right, you can connect with a live tutor and ask any questions you have about these 3 programs. And then the last option is Career Resources. So this is the same Career Resources option as the one we saw back on the main Job Now page. So you just have these websites that we've compiled that you can use to find jobs to apply to. So this is the same list of career resources. So it's just located here in the Adult Learning Center and then also on the main Job Now page where we saw it first. Okay, does anyone have any questions about anything here within the Adult Learning Center? There's a question saying, do patrons need to use a library number to use this service? I'm still questioning how the service can be offered to patrons from home. For example, could I post a link to your site in Twitter or Facebook and still be assured my patrons could access the service from their home computer using the posted link? So for Job Now, specifically, we don't require library card authentication. If that's something you want to add, we can do that. But as it is now, you just post the link, your patrons click on it, and then they'll access the main Job Now page. So they would access this page right here when they click on the link. So this is the main Job Now page. So wherever you post that link, when your patrons click on it, they'll get to this page. Then they'll need to sign in separately for certain parts of the service. So anytime you're submitting a paper to us through the Writing Lab or the Resume Lab, or a question to us through 24/7 Help, those types of services, you'll be required to create a username and password. But that's the only other information you'll need to enter. So it's not required that you enter a library card number. Any other questions for right now? There's a question saying, doesn't that mean your service can be accessed by anyone in the world? Without the authentication, it does. For our other service, our more used tutoring service is our academic help service, which is separate from the Job Now service that you've subscribed to. For that service, we always require authentication. But for Job Now, we have lower usage, so we haven't required that yet. But eventually we probably will, and if you would like to require that now, you can certainly add authentication. Our tech department can set that up with you. And it's usually done by library card number. There's another question saying, as a librarian, am I able to log into live chat sessions for demonstration purposes? You can essentially do it exactly as a student would. So you can log in, create an account if you want to, and then you have full access to the service from the same link that students do. So you can use that to demonstrate to anyone you like. You can always contact us to set up a webinar like this if you'd rather have us do a demonstration with someone or with a group of people. We'd be happy to do that. And getting back to the way anyone could access the service from the link you post, the reason it doesn't really happen is because the link is usually only posted on specific clients' websites, so the library's website. So for someone not affiliated with that library, they would have to somehow know to go to that library's website, find the link, and access it. So that's why it doesn't get much usage from random people just logging on. They're pretty much not going to go to your website unless they're a member of that library. Any other questions right now? The next thing we'll do is connect for a live session, but I'll just wait another few seconds to see if there are other questions. Okay, I see there's a question asking what is my cloud pack. So yeah, that's one I haven't gone over yet. My cloud pack here is essentially a storage device. So when you click on my cloud pack, when you open it for the first time, which is right now, you don't see any subfolders here. So you can add whatever subfolders you'd like here in your cloud pack. You can add one for resumes, then one for cover letters, and then you can upload documents into those folders. So you can upload various versions of your resume or cover letter or any other types of documents here. So in one way it just works as a storage device, so it'll back up these documents for you. But the nice thing about it is that you can access those documents when you're connected in a live session, and you can upload them right into our online classroom. So if you have a resume there, you can upload it into the online classroom and look at it together with the tutor you're connected with. So I'll mention that again in a couple minutes when we're connected in the live session. There's a question about space limitations in CloudPack. As far as I know, there aren't any. There probably is some very high limit to the amount of materials you can put in there, but we've never had anyone reach it. So you really can put as much in there as you'd like. Okay, I don't see any other questions for right now. I'm just going to pause the screen for a second to get the live session set up. And now the screen should be live again. So I'll go ahead and connect for a live session to show you how that works. So if I click on Ace the Interview, this is the first live tutor option that we saw, was the live interview coach. There were others available as well, so a number of them within the Adult Learning Center that you can click on. But this is one of the live tutoring options. So I'll click on this button right here, and this will connect me with a live tutor. What the window opening right here is our online classroom. So you'll always see the same online classroom no matter what subject you choose. So you'll have these same options here, whether it's for a math session within the Adult Learning Center or for an interview help session here. So you'll see the same online classroom. I've set up the session today just so that I connect with myself. I'm also logged in as a tutor. So that's the tutor's name here in parentheses, also listed over here in the participants box. There's two basic parts to the online classroom. We have the whiteboard space up at the top, and then the chat box down here at the bottom. So this is where most of the back and forth communication happens, down here in the instant message chat box. So the session will always start with the tutor greeting the student and figuring out what exactly that student needs help with. So if I want to type something back to the tutor, I can click right down here at the bottom and type out whatever I'd like to. So that's just basically an instant messaging feature like a lot of programs use today. Then we have the whiteboard space up here at the top. This area can be used for a lot of different things. So tutors can load lessons here. So if an adult learner logs in looking for help on how to multiply fractions, our tutor can locate our lesson on multiplying fractions and load that here into the whiteboard space and then work through that with the tutor. So we have lessons created for all standard topics. We also have a lot of other resources available to tutors. So we have sample resumes as well as our resume templates. We have sample cover letters. We have lots of articles saved about various aspects of the job search process. So if any of those would be relevant for the student, the tutor might load those into the whiteboard space. We also have lists of interview questions the tutor can load here into the whiteboard. But then also this area can just be used to go over a question a student has. So you can type and draw various items on the whiteboard here using all these buttons we see along the left-hand side. So I'll quickly go through the options you have here. So if you put your mouse over each button, you'll get a brief description of what that button does. So the pencil will just let you freehand draw on the board. The eraser will let you erase. The ABC button lets you click anywhere on the board and then type. Font button lets you change the font style and size that you're typing in. And this is all interactive here. So whatever I'm putting on the whiteboard here as the student, it's showing up on the tutor's whiteboard and vice versa. So we're essentially working on the same whiteboard here. So if I type something out on the board, the tutor is then able to underline it, delete it, things like that. So you're working on the same whiteboard, sort of like you're both, writing on an actual physical whiteboard or chalkboard in a classroom. Then we have a color option here, so you can change the color of the next thing you put on the whiteboard. Then we have a paste text or image option here. So anything that can be copied and pasted, you can copy it and then put your mouse on the whiteboard here and click on this paste button. That'll paste it right onto the whiteboard. So anything you'd like to share with a tutor, you can paste onto the board. This draw line tool just lets you put straight lines on the board. So you can use it to underline or to draw figures. Then we have the graph option here, which actually gives you the option of a number line or a graph. You can click and drag a number line onto the board, or you can choose the graph option and click and drag a graph onto the board. So a lot of these options that we're looking at are really mostly useful for someone who's looking for academic tutoring. So someone logging in through the Adult Learning Center looking for math help or something like that, they'll have these options available that we're looking at. You can also double click on the number line or graph icons here, and that will let you change the X and Y values. Then we have a basic shapes tool. So the shapes tool will let you do things like put lines onto a graph or put some other basic shapes onto the whiteboard. The arrow here just removes the most recent thing you put on the board. So you can click on this and you essentially move backwards. The math button gives you a long list of math symbols if you need any. SCI does the same thing for science symbols. Then we have a superscript and a subscript button. And down at the very bottom you can clear the whiteboard. Up at the top we have a few additional options. So we have the print button here that will print out the whiteboard. If you happen to go over something that was particularly helpful, you can click on the print whiteboard button here to print that out. However, you'll see back on the website you also have this past sessions option. So your live tutoring sessions are automatically recorded and saved here within your account. This only works if you have a username and password. So the live tutoring option is actually not one that requires a username and password from your patrons. So they can log in and then connect to a live tutor without signing in. The system will just give them a guest account. But if you use a guest account, your session is not recorded and saved. However, if you are signed in with the username and password you've created, when you log in for a live session, it'll be recorded and saved here within your account. So you can log back in and rewatch that session anytime. If we go back to the online classroom here, if you do happen to log in as a guest, we have this envelope icon right here. You can click on this, type out your email address here, and that will send a link to you that you can use to view that tutoring session. So even if you log in as a guest, if you have a successful session, before you log out at the end, you can just click on this button, type in your email address, and you'll be emailed a link you can click on to view the video recording of this tutoring session. And you can also use this if you're a registered user, and that will just give you access to your recording within your email rather than having to sign into your Brainfuse account. This button right here lets you upload a document directly to the tutor you're connected with. So if you log in to get help on your resume or a paper you're working on, you can click on this button to upload your document right to the tutor you're connected with. And then the last button here is Cloud Pack Explorer. So this just lets you access your Cloud Pack. So any documents you've uploaded into your Cloud Pack, you can then access them here and open them up right on the whiteboard. So you have a number of options for sharing information with your tutor. You can use Cloud Pack, you can use the Send File option, or you can just copy and paste right onto the whiteboard. So that's essentially how the live sessions work, how the online classroom here works. Does anyone have any questions about that? There's a question saying, how does the talk button work? We don't use audio in any of our sessions right now, so the audio option here is deactivated. We've used it in the past. but we just, for various reasons, we don't use the audio anymore. So all communication is done through the chat box and through the whiteboard space. Any other questions about the online classroom? Okay, so that's essentially everything I wanted to go over today. So those are the options you have here within JobNow, including the Adult Learning Center and the live session. So that's essentially the options your patrons will have when they log into JobNow. I'd be happy to answer any final questions anybody has, comments. I can go back over any sections that maybe I went over too quickly. Just go ahead and type out in the chat box anything you'd like me to do, any questions I can answer. If anyone does have questions they'd like to ask out loud, just type out a quick message to let me know, and I can unmute your microphone.